immigration policy of Switzerland and Europe, on Ayurveda, on vocational education with participation of a number of you friends who are present here. Today we are doing Indian wine tasting of a particular brand, which is the Fratelli wines, which was also present at the World Economic Forum Davos this year. The brand is headquartered in Delhi with its production in Cluj, Maharashtra, Pune. The first plantations took place in 2007-2008, and the first wine was produced in 2010 vintage. This particular brand is a collaboration between India and Italy. It's an Indian wine, but it's a collaboration between Indian owners and Italian interest in the wine industry. And this is also a model for the Make in India, the Make in India program which Government of India has, which basically encourages investors to come in India and make manufacturing, investment into manufacturing. I would also like to introduce the MISSP program which we have, which is the Momentum in India Swiss SMEs program. And this program is again an initiative of the embassy, which is aimed at business and market entry facilitation for the Swiss SMEs to enter into the Indian market. With that, I would now invite Mr. Alessia, the director of the Fratelli Wines Private Limited, to please take over and do a more professional and technical briefing on the wine. Thank you.
I'm one of the founders of Fratelli Wines. Fratelli means brothers in Italian, because we are three couples of brothers as founders of the company. Me and my brother from Italy, I'm based in Florence, and two other couples of brothers from India, Kapil and Gaurav, which we were friends since 22 years. We are friends since 22 years, so 10 years ago we decided to move to India because we believe that we want to create something and a product to be sold in India for the Indian market. So we had this vision of making a wine, high quality wine made out of India. We didn't know if it was possible. So that was our kind of craziness that we put in that. And after 10 years, there is a long way on. It's a long way, but we have had very good results, because the big challenge is to grow the grapes first and then make the wine. So there is no literature on vineyards in India. So we are learning everything. We have learned from the scratch, and we are learning every year from our fields and from our vineyards. So this is how the passion and the dream and the vision that we have always shared. So I would like to show you, first of all, a small video, because it's very difficult to express with the words to show what we have done. So this land which now is in life. So this is our vineyard, and there was nothing before here. Well, it's never been worked by man at this soil. It was virgin soil.
Ambitious people, artistic people. We are a mix of all of these. We are the Fratelli people.
This is our winery, and there was nothing here. It was like a savanna environment when we reached there. There was no water, we brought the water.
It was situated in a virgin land, kept in 50 kilometers.
Whatever you see green there is because we brought the water. And then, of course, all around our vineyards, people have started to grow. See the surroundings.
With 7 core values,
this is another plot.
Within us.
This is 50 acres.
As we at Fratelli believe wines are made in the vineyard first. We rise with humbleness and stay true to our mission with honesty, while discipline is instilled deep within us. We are self-motivated to the core of our roots. That's how we grow with confidence. We work hard enough to make things meet, and are ambitious enough to reach the greatest heights. But it's never easy to reach perfection. We begin our craft by rounding up the finest grapes, where they are gently crushed, cozily fermented in our Italian tanks, and stored in the premium French barrels, where they are gracefully aged till they're ready. We call ourselves the artists
So this is what we have done, so when we started it was completely nothing. So we have been the first to bet on this vision, that's why we call Fratelli Vineyards. Our originally was Fratelli Wines, but then we moved to Fratelli Vineyards to show how it is important, the link of the wine with the vineyards, because we believe that in the motto that wine is made in the vineyards first. So we give a lot of attention and care to the vineyards. And in fact, we have we control 120 hectares of vineyards, plus another 200, which we have developed with the contract farmers. So locally, we are creating a local economy for people that before maybe they were growing tomatoes or other kind of vegetables. And they had changed the economy into the grapes, the wine grapes. So for them it's a source, and also for us, we are increasing the knowledge of people how to cultivate the grapes. And this is our vision, as I was saying before, like the mission that we have. All of us, whoever is involved in Fratelli, we are asking to give themselves and enhance themselves. Just try to go over your limits. For example, also in the winemaking process, we have hired almost unskilled people. So we have formed everybody from scratch. And we have people that are working with us since 6 to 7 years. And in India, it's not easy to keep people in the same organization. There is a fast turnover of people. Because we believe that if you create an identity and people believe in your values, then we are all going the same direction. So this is some aspects of what we have done, and we have a capacity of 2 million liters winery, and we are keep expanding, because of course the market is growing. And unfortunately in wine, you have first of all to expand your vineyards and then your winery. You cannot, because we need the grapes. And this is where we are. So basically we are in the north, we are still in the northern hemisphere. Just to give you an idea, we are at the same latitude of the south of Sudan, just to give you a reference in Africa. Delhi is the same latitude of Jerusalem. Where we are instead, so it's a subtropical, so we are close to the tropical, but the grapes are taken in the winter time of India, which means that we prune twice. So there are 2 prunings in September, which gives the production in December, January, and February. And then there is another pruning in March, which doesn't give you any grape, because the monsoon will come in June, and the plants, they cannot produce more grapes. So the problem in India that 1 year of a vine plant planted in India is like 2 years in Europe, because in Europe a plant for 6 months doesn't grow, so it doesn't use any energy. So if in average in Europe we have 25 years, 30 years, like more or less that range, in India we don't know yet because we have not reached 15 years, but we believe that after 15 years we will start changing. We need to replant slowly all our vineyards. So this is we have planted 16 different varietals. The vine plants that were flown from France, because again, giving importance to the grapes, we have to decide which kind of clones you want to decide. Because of one same varietal, there are different kind of genetic clones. For example, Sangiovese, which is a very famous Tuscan grape, Brunello di Montalcino, Chianti Classico, they have more than 100 clones. So you need to know, according to which clone you want to decide, which is the quality of wine you want to make. So we have made this deep knowledge, and we have analyzed the soil. So in each and every patch of soils, we have planted that given varietal that was suited to the soil and to the microclimate of the. Like for example, we have Marcelane and Petit Verdot, which are 2 typical red grapes of Bordeaux region, which is used for blending. And also we have planted Müller, Thurgau and Gewürztraminer, which was quite bold as a thing, but it has worked because we were looking for some aromatic wines and grapes, of course. We are not bottling as Gewürztraminer and Müller, but we are using these aromatic wines to enhance the aromatics of the other white wines. Then this is, I think, important. I have already briefly discussed, but the soil for us has been the first target that we are looking at. So the pH is quite high, and the quality, the pH is very important. When the pH is high, it means that the soil has a lot of minerals. is not an organic soil, and for high quality grapes you don't require organic soils. Organic soils are good for quantity but not for quality. So this is a good, and also the clay is another important factor not to have it. So the clay is less than 5%. So it is a very good mix of soil that we were looking for, and it was a virgin soil. And then the microclimate conditions, our management of the vineyards, I would say, is 80% organic and 20% still we're using some chemicals, because of course, being in a subtropical area, when the humidity happens and the heat is there, it's quite aggressive, and against powdery mildew, which are the fungus diseases that also here in Europe. As of now, we cannot manage organically. And the VSP system is the system that we have all over Europe, which is a vertical sprouting, like we see all our vineyards. And of course, again, it's a lower yield kind of system. Otherwise, the most common that is used in India is the Y system. Basically, from the same plant, you have four stems, out of which all the grapes come. In our case, we have one plant, one cordon, and 5 spores. So, of course, the same plant has the same energy, but divided in less number of bunches and grapes. So the quality will go more in concentration in the grapes. This is our winemaker, Piero Masi, who is basically, we didn't know each other before we started Fratelli, even if we live in the same place. So this is another nice story. Now it's like my second father, and he has a huge experience, especially in the vineyards. And he's making the literature of vineyard agronomics and winemaking in India, because this guy has experimented a lot of things and is keep experimenting. We are the second most distributed wine brand, and we have achieved this level very shortly, because the first vintage that we have sold was in 2010. Only 3 brands, and now we have 29 different labels. We have also an imported portfolio, because being distributed all over India, we have a very deep selling network, and of course we have created also a portfolio of imported wines from every part of the world that we are also distributing parallelly with our domestic wines. This is how to show the growth of our selling from 2012-13 up to last year. So that's how Fratelli has grown from 260,000 bottles to 1,000,000.83, and we have a target to reach almost 4 million bottles in 2020. Then of course, when we talk about these volumes, there are certain wines which will never increase in volumes, because otherwise you have to compromise with the quality, and some other wines, of course, which are made more for the volume market. These are some international recognition that we have acknowledged. Especially, I want to show you the Secco, which we have to see today. We have won in 2013 a silver medal at the Country Asia, and these are just shows what Fratelli is doing, and of course we want to grow more and more. Then recently we have made this joint venture with Jean-Charles Basset, who is one of most leading winemaker, and he has 32 wineries all over the world. He's an international brand. He's a French guy, and my partner and friend Kapil is now going to US for the launch of this new brand, which is called Genome, which means passion, and it is a premium white and red wine, which only 2,600 bottles production, and it will be launched next week in US. And this is why we are here now, because of course Invest India selected Fratelli as a wine to represent India from wine point of view in the World Economic Forum, and thanks to the ambassador and to the Indian embassy, then they have asked us to organize today tasting. This is some more details what we are doing. You can and these are some. Like we had David Rocco came to India to make Dolce India, and the first episode was made. And this guy is a Canadian chef that he has on Fox, and he came in India to find Italians who were doing something in India, and of course he decided to make the first episode on Fratelli because it was a perfect example for him to show. and then we have Steven Spurrier and a lot of coverages that we have. This is the beauty, and I say to be in India, because India is a country that has a lot of attention all over the world, and people are attracted to India on one side, but sometimes that's what I feel. Also talking with business people, they like to start business in India, but it's not easy to understand how to start it. So looking from inside, I must say that it has huge potentials as a country to make business, and I must say it's a very, very growing market, completely different from the Chinese. There has a different kind of pace, of course, but potentially it can become huge. And these are some other features that we have. Now we move forward to the wine tasting. I don't want to bother you too much with too many presentations, so because we are here to taste the wines. So we have these three wines, and we'll start with our sparkling. So they will start to give you the wines right now. So first of all, and it is zero dosage, which means first of all, it's a traditional method, sparkling. To make sparkling, there are two methods. One, which is called traditional, like champagne. It's the second fermentation happens in the bottle, which is in this case. The other system is like the Charmat, like the famous Italian Prosecco is made. So the second fermentation happens in the tank, and is directly bottled from the tank into the bottle. So it's a shorter process, and of course it's more on the volume side. The second fermentation, like you are tasting now, takes more time, because it takes at least 1 year, 1.5 years before you make the disgorging and make the wine ready to bottle. So this wine has been left on the lees horizontally in the bottle 12 months. So second fermentation means that we create a base white wine at 10.5 alcohol, then you add the sugar and yeast, you close the bottle with the crown cap, and the fermentation will happen inside. That's how the bubbles will come out. The more time you leave the lees, which are the dead yeast, into the wine, the more gentle, the more refined the bubbles will become, the taste will become more complex. So that is more or less a very briefly description what does it mean traditional method. In this case, you can taste in your mouth. The main characteristic of this wine is the minerality. What does it mean, minerality? That makes you salivate. So when the wine is gone, you have a kind of salivation effect in your mouth. And this is a typical aspect of a wine made from grapes which are grown in a mineral soil. So if you taste the same wine made from grapes, for example, grown on a clay soil, it will be more flat, it will be like more watery. And this is a salivation that you have right now in your mouth, it won't happen. So this is a distinctive characteristic of our Grand Cru Brut, and this is because of the specific characteristic of where the vineyards are planted. The other aspect of this wine is the zero dosage, so there is no sugar, so you don't have these, it's very refreshing, it's cleaning your mouth very much. And in fact, I'll suggest later on, there will be also some Indian food that will be served. So I'll suggest you to try yourself and see how, even if you eat something spicy, it will refresh your mouth a lot. Because you have to consider that these wines are made for the Indian market. And in India, most of the time is very hot. Same sweetness. But we were the first to say no. We believe that considering the weather conditions, considering the food characteristics of Indian food, we believe that we need to have a wine that refreshes your mouth. Because when you drink something sweet and you have a spicy food in your mouth, it will enhance the spices instead of cleaning your mouth. So this is a clear characteristic of our wines that you find everywhere, which is more, let's say, European style from this point of view, with all the specifics of being a 100% Indian wine. So what is the beautiful of making wine? Wherever you grow the grapes, the wine will taste and will have the specific characteristic of the microclimate where those grapes are grown. Because we are talking about Sangiovese, we are talking about Cabernet, they are all grapes, they are planted all over the world. But the same grapes grown in different areas, they taste different. This is the beauty of the microclimate of each and every terroir. So we believe strongly that we have a specifics on our terroir to experiment and make innovation. So this is a Sangiovese Bianco, which is a white wine made from a red grape. So Sangiovese is only red grape, and it's famous in Tuscany, as I was saying before, in the Chianti area, where the Chianti Classico and Brunello di Montalcino is the most famous. So it's a beautiful red grape, and we had I was inspired to make this wine, going around the Chianti wineries. I found two wineries which were making this white wine. So I said, okay, we have the Sangiovese, let's try to do it. And I think now the wine is coming. So what the characteristic of this wine? Being made from a red grape, it has a less acidity notes. So the acidity is lower. Always nice to pour because people are, they don't know what to expect from a red wine, and to make a white wine from a red grape is the same method that they use in Champagne. Le Blanc de Noir Champagne is a white, which is a red grape, and when it is a very light rosé, then you ferment separately without Gewürztraminer in our vineyards. The Gewürztraminer is very similar. When it gets ripened, it gets a pink color. It's not a white grape. So, in fact, if you don't know the grape, it looks like more red. The Gewürztraminer you can make in a sweet style or in a dry style. In our case, we use the Gewürztraminer like 1–3% to be blended with another varietal to enhance the aromatics. Because one problem that we are facing in India, as far as our experience concerns on the white wines, because of the climate conditions that we have in India, the primary aromas, which are those fruit-forward aromas, especially on the white wines, they disappear easily, quite quickly. Because of course, all our tanks are temperature controlled, but we live in an environment which is quite difficult, I would say. So the Gewürztraminer, yes, it is working. It has been an experiment from our side, and as a style, Fratelli wines has always been distinguished on the dry style.
I love dry wine.
And in fact,
I don't like Gewürztraminer itself, but often
in fact,
people I know, Indian friends, they like to drink it with Indian food. It's a sweet one, usually from Alsace.
I know. I honestly, to me, as far as my experience with Indian food, whenever I taste something sweet, I would prefer more dry, because it has this refreshing.
Me too.
You clean your palate and you keep the Gewürztraminer or all the aromatic wines like Müller-Thurgau also. Like for example in Italy we have Falanghina, Greco di Tufo. They are very, very aromatic wines. They are nice and they're very approachable, but maybe after 2 glasses, again, but I'm not saying that it's a subjective decision, like I was saying before. It's like, and it has to be in the mood of that day, maybe. So I as far as my experience concerned on the Indian food, whatever is sweet, it can go, but I prefer on the dry side.
Thank you.
If you have more questions, but it could have been the food, no, I don't know. And no, I would say in India we have a spicy notes more prevalent, more relevant to compare. Then it's difficult to, also Italy, as you know, it's 2,000 kilometers, not a big country. But the wines made in Piedmont and the wines made in Sicily are completely different, because the weather completely changed, the soil changes, the climate changes. So the Primitivo di Manduria, for example, for Puglia, which is very popular all over Europe, cannot be compared with the Sangiovese from Chianti, because it has a different style. But I must say that in India, the spices notes like cloves, black pepper, these are kind of specific characteristics which I define as a quality of the wine, which defines more the Indian wines compared to, for example, Syrah, which is planted also in India. We have in Rhone, Syrah has a very elegant expression of white pepper, for example, very, very gentle. In India, it's more on the black pepper side, like a more intense. So these are differences that I find. For example, the Sangiovese, which we have planted in Ancruce in India, and the same Sangiovese, the same clone planted in Chianti or Brunello in India, it has the same characteristic of freshness, acidity, elegance, but it doesn't have that floral notes that are expressed, for example, in Chianti or in Brunello. Floral notes like a violet, that kind of perfumes you don't get in India. But what is very surprising, for example, they have tried to plant Sangiovese in California, like the Antinori, the famous producer of Italy in Tuscany. He has his own winery in California, and the Sangiovese planted in California tastes like a Cabernet. Instead, because it's a different soil, the soil instead that we have selected for Sangiovese is very similar to the one in Tuscany, and it preserves the characteristic of Sangiovese. Now that we are tasting Sette, which is the third wine that we are tasting, it is our super Indian, I would say, coming from Tuscany, kind of blend. In our vision, we had always this idea to make a super premium red wine. And when we launched Sette in 2010, a lot of journalists and wine experts in India, they criticize a lot, because we launched this wine at 1,500 rupees, which is more or less 23, 24 euros. Retail price, and in 2010 was big price. Like at the same price you can find at that time you could find a Chianti Classico Riserva or some French wines, so it was immediately going straight against the competition. But we believe that if you work properly, if you put the quality in the bottle, then the brand can stand. So nowadays Sette in India, not because I say, but because the other people say that, is considered the iconic red wine of India as of now. And among the red grapes is on the highest level of acidity, together with Pinot Noir. So the approach of the wine enters very pleasantly in the mouth. And then the 30% of the Cabernet adds some body and some roundness to the wine. So this is, as a style, is a fine wine. We are looking for elegance with this wine. And this is something that, again, we are very young as a winery, and we are keep learning how to improve our wines and how to get the best and enhance from our grapes. So this is, please.
When we raise the pH, for example, from 7.
So a low pH, then the wines start to become flat. Like when you drink it, then it doesn't give you any impression. But it's a long journey for us to make good Indian wines out of India, but we believe that we are in the good direction. Thank you for coming and enjoy it.
As you said, from the first phase of wine tasting, now we move to the second phase of wine tasting, which is with the Indian snacks, Indian food. So I would first of all thank all of you for being here with us, and I also request you to move towards the lawn where we have the Indian food and snacks ready for you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being here.